my space. Yep, back into that space. What space? Give me a moment. I'll tell you when I return. Did I keep you waiting for too long? Okay. Yes. I will begin with that. I know you're saying coffee again. Well, you can't get it wrong with a good cup of coffee. Yep. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Good everything. Welcome to the WordCafe live show. You know how we say it. This is the space where we come in to lean on one another's experience to forge a positive path. It's a safe space. And each time I come into it, super excited, I must tell you. Yep. So what are we going to be doing today? I will begin with this. I hope I don't bore you. But in any case, if you're bored, it will stir you on the inside to do something. My elder brother reached out to me, I think a month ago or so. Yes, I have an elder brother, for your information. Yeah. And he was just sharing some thoughts with me, and I laughed because each line he was giving out were things I had heard in a movie or come across. I'll share them with you. History has never been kind to any man who pleased God. The function of man is to live, not to exist. He who makes a beast of himself loses the pain of being a man. If you've watched the 007 series, James Bond, yes, you must have heard all of this, but that's not where I'm going. Today I want to focus on what I call the power of poetry. Yes. We're big on words here at the WordCafe, so we take our time to look at certain things, and I love observing, and when I start observing, I ask questions. Speaking is a good thing because we're speaking beings, as in human beings, we're speaking spirits. But there's something about poetry that commands the attention of everybody. Somehow, be it in English, if you're an English speaker, a non-English speaker, your native language, your dialect, when things are said poetically, they kind of hold you, in this frame, and you tend to respond in a certain way. And I kept asking myself, why? Why? So I did a little digging just to understand why. It will amaze you what I came upon, and that's what I want to share with you. First of all, what is poetry? I said definitions and limitations. The minute you define a thing, you have put kind of a limitation to it. So from there, you begin to build. It's like from known to unknown, mathematically speaking. So I discovered the word poetry comes from the ancient Greek word poiesis. And what is the meaning? The act of creation. You see? Or making from, also as in the act of creation, gotten from the verb poelio. Poelio, which means I create. Even as you open scriptures, the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, the way it flows, very poetic. It points to this factor, the power of poetry, or what poetry is all about, creation. The minute anybody wants to create something, he or she puts down a thought poetically, like your manifesto. And those words, the way they flow, they may not necessarily follow the grammar frame, but somehow it elicits an emotion to the hearer. I'll give you an example of one. For if you're an Italian speaker, if you hear an Italian express love to her beloved or his beloved, you hear things like amore me, amore, my love, me. Now look, flip it, amore, me. Amor is love, me, that's my love. So it goes the other way around if you try to translate it in English and all of that. But hearing it alone, it evokes this thing in you. Ti amo, amore mi, amore mi amo. These are all expressions of love, but poetic in its essence. So when you look at it carefully, you come to see that there's something about poetry that commands attention. So why did I bring this? I'll tell you why I brought this with a story of a man. Every political idea stems from a poetic verse. Every political idea, economic idea stems from a poetic verse. One man proved it, and somehow his poetic writings and utterances took hold of the world in such a way that he's long gone, but his ideology is still being propagated across different timelines. Karl Marx, the father of communism. So when you look at the life of Karl Marx, he did not begin his economic ideology and political ideology on the strength of mere words. It came from a poetic verse. Yes, he started writing poetry. His anger. So from what I gathered, Karl Marx was a German Jew, the Austria-Hungarian kingdom and all of that. I don't want to bore you with all the nitty-gritty details, but that's where he came from, And his father was a Christian, a believer. But somehow Karl Marx went away from his father's, belief system, and decided to start his own. Now the story has it that he started believing in certain things like chaos. And his main influence was the German folklore, the German folklore. There's this folklore in Germany. If you read about it very well, you come to see that they believe in it so much. A personality called Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles is a demonic entity. So he started listening to such folklores, and Mephistopheles has in the story, the background has it that he is a spirit of disorder, anti-order. And if you look at the background of communism, That's where it came from. So he started writing, first of all, he started writing poetic verses. And the early, the way the story has it, the early experience of Karl Marx, when you read his write-ups, were disorderly write-ups, challenging the order, which built gradually and snowballed into an economic, would I say, principle. And there's one thing you have to understand. Every message that does not carry a commercial viability supported by a theological mindset dies over time. But Karl Marx built on these principles. A message that has a commercial value, that is to say, it can hold the economy. Then the belief system of the people, theology, fusing all together, but riding on the platform of poetry. You write a verse, and this poetic verses can be turned into plays. And that's how we began. And gradually, the communism ideology swept across Europe. It was deadly. Because by the time minds like Lenin, Stalin, the Italian Mussolini, and the rest of them jumped on this ideology, history has it. Hitler even, socialism and all the rest of them. Now this is what I came to share with us on the show today, like the power of poetry, the power of words, weaving it in a poetic sense. Like I just explained earlier, it's about creating. Poetry creates. Like Shakespearean theories, Shakespearean verses, when you read them and listen to them, it's like there is this ideology that is being created, and it takes you, lands away, and your imagination travels, the way the words, interplay of words, and all of a sudden, it is built up. But you know what? There was a counter to his ideology also. Which was also the poetic verse. So when he was building all of this and trying to get a movement, which he did, like a critical mass, which he did, and people followed and what have you, they ran along with him and all that. Somewhere in the west of the US, there was a counter to it. So earlier in my life growing up, these words rang a bell. In God we trust. A lot of us see it on, yes, the American, is it their currency? We really don't know the origin. Poetic origin. So before now, the Americans had on their dollar bill, it was not in God we trust. In God we trust. It wasn't it. But they had to come up with this because the ideology propagated by Karl Marx, using the power of poetry, was anti-God. It was Mephistopheles influenced. So the Americans who were America, the story of America, largely when you look at it, was built by the Puritans. Let's not go into the other dark side. But these are Christians. And they were like, no, we need to fight back. And how did they fight back? To propagate a poetic verse, which is, in God we trust. And that was the, what I say, birthing of capitalism. So you see, communism is a political, socio-economic, politically motivated ideology. So is capitalism. But when you look at the driving force, the poetic force behind this two, one is dark, or one is of the dark, the other is of the light. So that's how Americans came upon with that. In God we trust. But I want to show you something. Something amazing, something that would make you see. In God we trust, is the official motto of the United States, as well as the motto of the, blah, 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 along with the nation of blah, blah, blah. It was adopted by the US Congress in 1956, replacing, so they had something before, replacing this, pluribus unum. Yeah, it sounds poetic, doesn't it? That's Latin. So this is the meaning of that. The American Congress or the American Society had this before, a pluribus unum. It simply means out of one, or out of many, one. You get out of many, one. That used to be the motto of the United States of America, which had been the de facto motto since the initial design of the Great Seal of the United States. But to counter the ideology of Leninism and all of that, birthed by Karl Marx, as in communism, I beg your pardon, in God we trust. And the United States of America, the Congress passed it in 1956, and they embraced it. In God we trust. That is a poetic verse. Powerful poetic verse. So you come to see that most of the things we do in our communities, in our societies, are as a result of the hook poetry has over us. Yeah, that's the truth. Now, let us look at this closely. I'm going to go into our nativity in your dialect. Those of us who grew up in the village, or we grew up with grandparents and all of that. Excuse me. Now, I'm from Calabari in Rivers State. And I'm going to give you some lines. For those of you who are from that part of the world, you will understand what I mean deep. Now, I grew up hearing my grandparents, my mom say things like this. When somebody is sick and they want to respond in terms of treatment and go get this, go get that, there's this particular word they use when they want to point you to go get a particular ointment and all that. They call it obi fomba. I will translate. It sounds heavy, isn't it? Obi fomba. So, obi means sickness. Fomba means flogging to kill. Yeah. Remember those lines your grandparents used to use? And you will laugh like, why does grandma or grandpa sound like this? It stares you. Obi fomba. That is, go get me that ointment that kills sickness. So can you kill sickness? Poetically, you can. So they are like giving a persona to that, what I would say, ailment, and also given a higher persona to what will cure it. So they go ahead, go get me obi fomba. That's so poetic. Now, there's this other one she uses that describes when you want to do things quickly, in a hurry, and get it done. Offering so, obi so. Offering so, obi so. Offering means hot. You heard me say Obi a while ago, sickness. So you want to do the things quickly. Like, I want it to go quickly, so offer it so Obi so quickly. Very poetic in its essence. Now you come to see our politicians, when they come to sweet talk us, they ride on the strength of poetry. They play with words, interchange. They razzmatazz and mesmerize. That's the power of poetry. The power of oration is strengthened by poetry. Because when you speak, you create. When you get into that poetic element, what you're doing, you're creating. You're creating a future. You're creating an atmosphere. You're creating a destination. And in the minds of the people, they're excited. Like, wow, this guy can speak so well. Beyond the speaking, he's creating an image for us to walk into. But more often than not, we come to realize most of them were just lying to us. So, guys, when you listen to anybody playing with your intelligence with words, this is the reason, or this is one of the reasons. The power of poetry. The power. You know, I say it all the time. I believe in the power of words. Why? Because it is the unit of creation. I trade in words to profit my world. So you see why? I didn't know it from the very beginning, but researching, staying, building, I now know why. So in your local dialect, poetry controls. Like when you come to Nigeria, when you listen to the people from the Delta, which we call them Wari, the Wari people, when you stay with the Wari people, the way they speak, even in the pidgin English, you just laugh. Poetry. They play with words. The metaphor they use, the synonyms, the antonym, just name it. Parts of speech that they play around with. How they give non-living things life. How they give animals human forms. That's the power of poetry. So every society, egalitarian or not, rides on poetry. Even the arts, the artists, those who paint, poetry, they are creating. That is the power. That's what I came to do on the show today. So if you are a native speaker of your language, you can tell, you can relate all those poetic verses that your grandfathers, ancestors have used that stuck with you growing up. It became the basis of your creativity. It became the basis of your philosophy. It became the basis of your economic principles. That's the power of poetry. Good night, guys. I said I should just come around and do this. You know, you would say to yourself, he has come again. Well, I'm still on the way. Thank you. I am excited each time I come into this space to share moments like this with you. It means a lot to me. It does. All right, guys. Yep. Before I go, I'll tell you this. I'll say this. We are available. Yeah, our social media handles. You have them. We're on TikTok. Where are we again? Facebook. Where are we again? Instagram. Where are we again? LinkedIn. Yes. And we have a channel, a YouTube channel, where we put up amazing content. You've been following, I know. So go ahead. Subscribe. Hit that notification button and wait for amazing poetic verses to hit you like a tornado. Well, I gotta go now. It is always exciting to come into this space and share with you. You're waiting for me to say that, right? Till I come your way again. Bye for now.